In 1950, a French team with almost no Himalayan experience set out to climb an 8,000-meter peak. But as vague maps, shifting weather, and unknown valleys closed around them, they discovered the Himalayas held far more than they had prepared for.
Hey, glad you're here. Welcome to the Himalayan Journals. Here on this channel, we bring to you real stories from century old field notes. We try to keep it simple and calm here. Think of it as a documented history of the Himalayas from the early 1900s, covering stories of indigenous wisdom, epic expeditions, and groundbreaking science passed on just as they were recorded. Subscribe, zone out, binge.
Far from France, the Himalayas waited like a distant dream, a dream that Maurice Herzog and his companions suddenly found themselves approaching when the expedition of 1950 was approved and equipped. France had little Himalayan experience, only one earlier venture in 1936, yet now the ambition was clear: to climb, for the first time in history, an 8,000-meter peak. Under the guidance of Lucien Devies, and with Herzog chosen as leader, months of careful preparation followed. They studied 30 earlier expeditions and reached one conclusion: too much time was often wasted high on the mountain, where weather and waiting drained men of strength. Their attempt had to be fast. As their aircraft lifted from Le Bourget, the strain of preparation fell away. They slept most of the long journey to India, stopping in Karachi and Cairo, until at Delhi they were welcomed by the French ambassador. On 4th April, their equipment cleared customs and was sent toward Nautanwa. At Lucknow, the expedition reunited with their loads and arranged coolies to carry everything to the narrow gauge line. A few days later, they met the Sherpas for the first time, the tough men with yellow laces and iron muscles who would share their fate. Across the Indian-Nepal frontier, they traveled through a hot and malarial region, moved into the hills at Butwal, and were met by Nepalese officials. One of them, G.B. Rana, lively and energetic, became their escort. His small caravan followed them toward Tansing, and he often played Gurkha tunes while his umbrella bearer trotted beside his horse. From a hill above Tansing, the team caught their first sight of the Himalayas, shimmering out of the mist, more majestic than anything they had imagined. The caravan crossed villages and valleys, past a Nepalese wedding with its drums and dancing, and on the 22nd of April, reached the stone plains near the Kali Krishna Gandaki. There they saw the tremendous slopes of Dhaulagiri rising like a pyramid. At Tukucha, they made camp near a Buddhist temple and prepared to explore both the Dhaulagiri and Annapurna massifs. The information they had was vague. Every reconnaissance took days, and the scale of the mountains overwhelmed them. Yet slowly, they uncovered unknown valleys, high glaciers, and access routes. The monsoon was approaching, and time grew short. On the 14th of May, they met to choose their target. Dhaulagiri offered possibilities, yet also long ridges where retreat would be impossible. Annapurna's northern slopes seemed more promising, though hardly certain. They agreed on a cautious reconnaissance that could become an attempt if the route proved feasible. Herzog and his companions moved up the Maristi Kola in foul weather. Attempts on a spur failed, but the northern glacier revealed a possible line: a plateau, a ridge of mixed rock and ice, then steep snow slopes and the sickle-shaped glacier leading upward. They sent word that success depended on losing no time. Sarki, one of the strongest Sherpas, ran day and night to Tukucha in a day and a half to speed the process. The camps rose quickly. Camp 2 stood at 6,000 meters under an extraordinary ring of peaks. Above it, the slopes grew steeper and softer, and the Sherpas suffered headaches. Camp 3 sat in a crevasse, and Camp 4 was carried over ice walls and narrow ridges to form Camp 4 bis near the Sickle Glacier. At last came the assault. Herzog and Lakanal moved ahead with their Sherpas. They carved a narrow platform on an icy spine where they spent a terrible night, half buried by drifting snow. Before dawn, they forced on their frozen boots and left for the summit. They climbed unroped up the Sickle Glacier, breaking through crust into powder snow, halting often to breathe. At last, they reached the summit ridge. A short traverse led to the peak. They stood there briefly, feeling both elation and urgency. Lachenal's feet were freezing and the weather was turning. They photographed their flags, then hurried down. Herzog dropped a glove and could not recover it. A storm swept in. By the time they reached Camp 5, Lakanal had fallen down a slope and survived by luck. Teray and Rebuffet met them, but during the night the tents were half buried and the cold deepened. Next day they could not find Camp 4 in the storm. All tracks had vanished. They wandered through seracs until night forced them into a crevasse, fearing it might be their tomb. With dawn came a collapse of powder snow, yet they climbed out, and at last, through thinning mist, Schatz appeared. His arrival felt like life returning. Still, they had to descend. Avalanches swept parts of the slope. Herzog was carried into a shaft of ice and hauled out again. Slowly, supported by Sherpas, he reached Camp 2, where Dr. Udo waited. By nightfall, the others arrived. No one remained on Annapurna. Exhausted and frost-bitten, they knew only that the mountain had been climbed, and the struggle was over.